Hey everyone, let me share a story that's been eating at me for a while. So there I was, just going about my day, when I decided to take a surprise lunch to my wife, Emily, at her favorite little cafe downtown. We don't have kids, so we usually have a lot of time to spend together. Today, though, I had a weird feeling. Call it intuition or whatever. When I got there, I noticed her through the window, sitting at a corner table. And she wasn't IT alone. She was with a guy I didn't recognize. They were sitting close, too close. My heart was pounding as I approached their table unnoticed. I heard her whispering something to him, her hand resting on his arm. I couldn't hold back any longer. "Having fun, you bastards?" I spat out. Both their heads snapped up, and Emily's face went pale, her mouth hanging open. The guy tried to stand up, but I was quicker. I knocked the chair out from under him with one blow, and he crashed to the floor. I glared down at him, my voice low and cold. "As long as you sit down, you are safe, but if you stand up, I'll have to sink my teeth into your throat." He didn't dare move. Emily just sat there, frozen in horror. Eventually, they left the cafe. I watched them go, my mind reeling. What the hell had just happened? Later that night, Emily came home. She didn't say anything at first, just went about her business like nothing had happened. I couldn't stand it. "We need to talk," I said, my voice shaking with barely contained anger. She turned to me, tears already welling up in her eyes. "It was just a mistake," she began, but I cut her off. "A mistake? Emily, you were all over him. How long has this been going on?" Her sobs grew louder, but she finally admitted it. 3 months. I didn't mean for it to happen. It just did. I'm so sorry. 3 months. The betrayal cut deep. We talked for hours, me demanding answers and her trying to explain. She said it was just sex, that she still loved me. But I didn't believe her. How could I? That night I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering how we'd gotten to this point. How had I missed the signs? And more importantly, what was I going to do next? The next day at work was a blur. I couldn't have focused on anything, my mind constantly drifting back to the cafe and Emilia's tearful confession. My coworker, Dave, noticed something was off and pulled me aside during lunch. "Hey, man, you okay? You look like you haven't slept in days," he said, concern etched on his face. I sighed, rubbing my temples. "It's Emily. I caught her with someone else yesterday." Dave's eyes widened. "What? Are you serious? I thought you guys were solid." "So did I muttered, staring at my half-eaten sandwich. But she admitted it's been going on for 3 months. Dave shook his head, looking as shocked as I felt. "That is rough, man. What are you going to do?" "I don't know yet," I replied, feeling the weight of the decision pressing down on me. "I need to figure out if I can forgive her, or if this is the end." When I got home that evening, Emily was waiting for me in the living room, looking even more miserable than before. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I nodded, sitting down across from her. "Go ahead." She took a deep breath. "I know what I did was unforgivable, but I want to make things right. I love you, and I can't imagine my life without you." Her words were like a knife twisting in my heart. "Then why did you do it, Emily? If you love me so much, why cheat?" She wiped away a tear. "I don't have a good answer. I was lonely, I guess. You were always so busy with work, and he was there, paying attention to me." "That's a lousy excuse," I snapped, feeling my anger flare up again. "You should have talked to me, not gone behind my back." "I know," she whispered, looking down at her hands. "I was stupid and selfish. I wish I could take it all back." We sat in silence for a long time, the tension between us almost tangible. Finally, I spoke up. "I need some time to think. I don't know if I can ever trust you again." Emily nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Take all the time you need. I'll do whatever it takes to make this right." That night, I slept in the guest room. It felt strange being in the same house but so far apart. I stared at the ceiling, trying to imagine a future where we could move past this. It seemed impossible. The next few days were tense and awkward. We barely spoke, each of us walking on eggshells around the other. I spent a lot of time at the gym trying to work off some of the anger and frustration. It helped a little, but not enough. One evening, as I was leaving the gym, my phone buzzed with a text. It was from Emily. "Can we please talk when you get home? I have an idea that might help." I sighed, feeling a mix of curiosity and dread. What now? I thought, but I agreed to meet her. When I walked in, Emily was sitting at the kitchen table, a stack of papers in front of her. She looked up, her eyes red from crying. "I did some research," she said, pushing the papers towards me. "I think we should try marriage counseling." I stared at the papers, feeling a flicker of hope. "You really think it will help?" She nodded. "We need to talk about what happened, why it happened, and how we can move forward. I can do this without you." I took a deep breath, considering her words. It wasn't a magic fix, but it was a start. "Okay," I said finally. "Let's give it a try." We scheduled our first session for the following week. In the meantime, we tried to communicate more openly, sharing our feelings and fears. It was hard, and there were plenty of tears and arguments, but it felt like we were at least moving in the right direction. That first counseling session was intense. The therapist, Dr. Miller, was kind but firm, guiding us through some tough conversations. Emily talked about her loneliness, and I admitted that I'd been too focused on work, neglecting our relationship. It was painful to hear, but necessary. As the weeks went by, we slowly started to rebuild our trust. It wasn't easy, and there were days when I wondered if we were just delaying the inevitable. But other days, I saw glimpses of the love we used to share, and it gave me hope. We still had a long way to go, but for the first time in months, I felt like maybe, just maybe, we could make it through this. As the weeks passed, Emily and I continued our counseling sessions. Each one was a roller coaster of emotions. Dr. Miller helped us dig deep into the issues that had been festering beneath the surface of our marriage. Emily's feelings of loneliness and my workaholic tendencies were just the tip of the iceberg. One evening, after an especially difficult session, Emily and I sat in the living room, each lost in our own thoughts. The silence was heavy, but it felt different than before, more reflective than hostile. "Do you think we can ever get back to where we were?" Emily asked softly, breaking the silence. I took a deep breath, considering her question. "I don't know. I want to believe we can, but it's going to take a lot of time and effort. Trust isn't something you can just snap your fingers and get back." She nodded, her eyes filled with a mixture of hope and sorrow. "I am willing to do whatever it takes." That night, we lay in bed together for the first time since the incident. It was awkward and tense, but it felt like a small step forward. We didn't touch or talk much, but the mere act of being in the same bed was a step toward mending the rift between us. A few days later, while I was at work, I got a call from my buddy, Dave. He sounded more excited than usual. "Hey, man, you want to believe this. Remember that old cabin we used to go to back in college?" "Yeah," I replied, a bit confused. "Why? It's up for sale. And for a ridiculously low price, too." I was thinking, maybe we should buy it, make it our new getaway spot. The idea was tempting. A place to escape and clear my head sounded perfect. Plus, it might be a good idea for Emily and me to get away from everything and spend some time together, away from the daily grind. "That sounds great, Dave. Let me talk to Emily about it and see what she thinks." That evening, I brought up the idea to Emily. To my surprise, she was all for it. "It might be good for us to have a change of scenery," she said, a small smile playing on her lips. "And I always loved that cabin." We decided to take a weekend trip up there to check it out. When we arrived, it was like stepping back in time. The cabin was just as I remembered it, cozy and rustic, nestled in the woods with a stunning view of the lake. As we settled in, I felt some of the tension start to melt away. We spent our days hiking, fishing, and just enjoying each other's company without the distractions of our everyday lives. It was a much-needed break and gave us a chance to reconnect. One evening, as we sat by the fire, Emily turned to me, her expression serious. "I know it's going to take a long time for you to trust me again, and I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I want you to know that I am committed to making this work. I love you, and I am willing to do whatever it takes." I looked into her eyes, seeing the sincerity there. "I believe you, Emily. I do. But you are right, it's going to take time. We need to keep talking, keep being honest with each other, and we need to remember why we fell in love in the first place." She nodded, tears glistening in her eyes. "Thank you for giving us a chance." We sat there holding hands, watching the flames dance in the fireplace. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it was a start. And for the first time in a long time, I felt a glimmer of hope for our future. As the weekend came to an end, we packed up and headed back home, feeling more connected and optimistic than we had in months. The cabin had given us a chance to remember what we loved about each other and to begin rebuilding our relationship on a stronger foundation. But just as things were starting to look up, an unexpected event threw everything into chaos again. When we returned from the cabin, things felt lighter between us. We were talking more, laughing even. It was like we had found a small piece of the love we used to have. But life has a way of throwing curveballs when you least expect it. It was a Wednesday evening when the unexpected happened. Emily and I were in the kitchen preparing dinner together. The phone rang, and she picked it up. I continued chopping vegetables, not paying much attention until I heard her voice go cold. "Hello? Yes, this is she." "What? No, I don't understand. Who is this?" I turned to see her face pale, her hand trembling as she held the phone. She glanced at me, her eyes wide with fear and confusion. "Okay, I'll be right there," she said, hanging up the phone. She looked at me, her expression one of sheer panic. "That was the hospital. My mom's been in an accident. I have to go." I grabbed my keys, ready to drive her there. "I'll come with you." The drive to the hospital was a blur. Emily was on the phone with her father trying to get more details. Apparently her mom had been in a car accident and was in critical condition. By the time we arrived, Emily was beside herself with worry. We spent hours in the waiting room, sitting in tense silence. Finally, a doctor came out to speak with us. "Mrs. Adams is stable for now, but it is touch and go. She suffered severe injuries and will need surgery." Emily broke down in tears, and I held her, feeling helpless. All the progress we had made over the past few weeks seemed to crumble in the face of this new crisis. Over the next few days, Emily spent most of her time at the hospital. I did my best to support her, visiting with her, bringing her meals, and making sure she took care of herself. It was a difficult time, and the stress of her mother's condition weighed heavily on both of us. One evening, while Emily was at the hospital, I received a text from an unknown number. Curious, I opened it. "I am sorry about what happened. Can we meet and talk?" I frowned, not recognizing the number. "Who is this?" I replied. "It's Sam, from the CAF." My heart sank. Sam was the guy Emily had been with. Why was he reaching out now? My first instinct was to ignore it, but curiosity got the better of me. I needed answers. Fine. Where and when? We arranged to meet at a small coffee shop the next day. As I walked in, I spotted him sitting at a corner table. He looked nervous, fidgeting with his coffee cup. I approached and sat down across from him. "What do you want?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. He took a deep breath. "I wanted to apologize. I never meant to come between you and Emily. It just happened, and I am sorry." "Sorry?" I scoffed. "You think sorry fixes this?" He shook his head. "No, I know it doesn't, but I needed to say it, and I wanted you to know that it's over between us. She chose you. She wants to make things right." His words stung, but they also brought a strange sense of relief. "Why are you telling me this now?" He sighed. "Because I care about her, and I want her to be happy. I realized I was a mistake, and I don't want to be the reason she loses everything. I'm leaving town, getting a fresh start." I stared at him, trying to process everything. Part of me wanted to punch him, to make him feel the pain he had caused. But another part of me recognized his sincerity. "Fine," I said finally. "Thank you for telling me." I left the coffee shop feeling a mix of emotions: anger, relief, confusion. When I got home, Emily was there, looking exhausted but relieved to see me. "Mom is out of surgery," she said, her voice trembling. "She's going to be okay." I pulled her into my arms, feeling a wave of relief wash over me. That a great news, Em. As we sat on the couch holding each other, I thought about what Sam had said. Maybe, just maybe, this was another step toward healing. We had a long road ahead, but I was starting to believe that we could make it through this together. With Emily's mom on the road to recovery, things began to settle down a bit. The crisis had brought us closer in an unexpected way. We were spending more time together, and it felt like we were rediscovering each other. But the shadow of her betrayal still loomed over us, and it wasn't something that could be easily forgotten. One evening, while we were having dinner, Emily brought up something unexpected. "I have been thinking, maybe we should get away for a while, just the two of us. We could go back to the cabin, take a break from everything." I looked at her, surprised but also intrigued by the idea. "You think it is a good time for that? With your mom still recovering? She's doing much better and Dad can take care of her for a few days. We need this, Derek. We need to reconnect, away from all the stress and memories." I nodded, understanding her need for some peace. "All right, let us do it." We packed our bags and headed back to the cabin the next weekend. The drive was filled with a mix of anticipation and nervousness. I wanted this trip to help us heal, but I knew it wouldn't be easy. When we arrived, the cabin was just as welcoming as before. The serene surroundings, the calm lake, the crisp mountain air, it all felt like a balm for our wounded souls. We settled in, and that evening we sat by the fireplace, sipping wine and talking. "Do you remember the first time we came here?" Emily asked, a small smile playing on her lips. "We were so young and carefree." I chuckled, the memory bringing a warmth to my heart. "Yeah, you were so excited to catch a fish and you ended up falling into the lake." She laughed, a genuine joyous sound that I hadn't heard in a long time, "and you jumped in after me even though it was freezing." "We had some good times here," I said, feeling a bit of the old magic between us. Emily's smile faded a bit, and she looked down at her wine glass. "Derek, I know it's going to take a long time for you to trust me again, and I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I want you to know that I am committed to making this work." I reached out and took her hand, squeezing it gently. "I know you are, Em, and I'm willing to try, but we need to keep being honest with each other no matter how hard it is." She nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. "I love you, Derek, and I'm so sorry for everything." "I love you too," I replied, my voice choked with emotion. "We're going to get through this." The rest of the weekend was a mix of relaxation and deep conversations. We hiked, fished, and spent hours talking about our past, our hopes for the future, and what we needed from each other to move forward. It wasn't easy, and there were moments of pain and tears, but it felt like we were making progress. On our last night, we sat by the lake watching the stars. Emily leaned her head on my shoulder, and I felt a sense of peace that had been missing for so long. "Do you think we'll ever really be okay?" she asked softly. I wrapped my arm around her, pulling her close. "I think we can be. It's going to take time, and we're going to have to keep working at it. But I believe in us." She looked up at me, her eyes shining with hope. "Thank you for giving us a chance." The drive back home was quiet but comfortable. We both felt the weight of the work ahead, but we also felt a renewed sense of determination to make our marriage stronger than before. As we settled back into our routine, the memory of the cabin stayed with us. It had been a place of healing, a place where we started to rebuild what was broken. And while we knew the road ahead would be long and challenging, we also knew we weren't alone on that journey. But life has a way of throwing new challenges when you least expect them, and our resolve would soon be tested once again. Back from the cabin, our daily routine seemed more manageable. Emily and I were talking more, and the tension between us had lessened considerably. It felt like we were on the right path. But as anyone who's been through something similar can tell you, the road to recovery is rarely smooth. One evening, after a particularly grueling day at work, I received a message from an old friend, Mike. He and I had been close during college, but we hadn't spoken much in the past few years. "Hey, Derek. It's been a while. I am in town for a few days. Want to grab a drink and catch up?" I thought it would be a great idea. I needed a break from everything, and reconnecting with an old friend seemed like just the thing. Emily encouraged me to go, saying it would be good for me. So we made plans to meet up at a local bar the next evening. When I arrived, Mike was already there, a couple of beers in. He greeted me with a bear hug, and we immediately fell into the easy camaraderie of old friends. "Man, it's good to see you," Mike said, clinking his glass against mine. How's life been treating you? I hesitated for a moment, not sure how much I wanted to share. It's been a rough few months, to be honest. Emily and I hit a rough patch. Mike raised an eyebrow. Oh, what happened? I took a deep breath, deciding to be honest. She cheated on me. We are trying to work through it, but it has been tough. Mike looked genuinely shocked. Wow, I'm sorry to hear that, man. That S rough. Yeah, I said, taking a sip of my beer. But we are trying. We went to counseling, spent some time away from everything. It is helping, but it is a slow process. We spent the next couple of hours catching up on life. Mike told me about his recent travels and his new job. It felt good to talk about something other than the affair, to lose myself in the stories and laughter of an old friend. But then, as we were wrapping up, Mike's expression turned serious. Hey Derek, I need to tell you something. It is about Emily. I tensed up, my mind racing. What is it? I ran into her a few weeks ago at a conference. She was with a guy and they seemed close. I felt my stomach drop. Who was he? I didn't catch his name, but they were definitely more than just friends. I didn't want to say anything before because I wasn't sure. But after what you told me, I thought you should know. The drive home was a blur. My mind was spinning with possibilities. Who was this guy Mike saw her with? Was it before or after we started working on our marriage? I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal, even if it was just a misunderstanding. When I got home, Emily was waiting for me, a smile on her face. How was your night? I couldn't hold back. Emily, I ran into Mike. He said he saw you a few weeks ago with some guy at a conference. What is going on? Her face fell and she looked away. It's not what you think, Derek. That was Sam. We had to attend the same conference for work, and we were just catching up. It was before we started working on things. I swear nothing happened. I wanted to believe her, but my trust was already so fragile. Why didn't you tell me? I didn't think it mattered. I wanted to focus on us, on moving forward. Bringing it up would have only caused more pain. I sighed, running a hand through my hair. Emily, I need you to be completely honest with me, about everything. If we're going to make this work, there can't be any more secrets. She nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. I promise, Derek, no more secrets. I'll tell you everything. We talked late into the night, going over every detail, every question I had. She answered honestly, and though it was painful, it felt like we were finally getting somewhere. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of emotions. We continued our counseling, and slowly, the trust began to rebuild. But I knew it would take time, and there would be more challenges ahead. One evening, as we were getting ready for bed, Emily turned to me, her expression thoughtful. I've been thinking maybe we should move. Start fresh somewhere new. What do you think? The idea was tempting. A new place, a new start. It could be exactly what we needed. It is a big decision, but maybe you are right. It could be good for us. We spent the next few days discussing the idea, looking at potential places and weighing the pros and cons. It wasn't an easy decision, but we both felt it was the right one. As we started planning our move, I felt a renewed sense of hope. It wouldn't be easy, but it felt like we were finally on the right path. And for the first time in a long time, I believed we could make it through this, together. The decision to move was a big one, but it felt like the right step. Emily and I spent countless hours looking at new places, discussing the pros and cons of each neighborhood. It was a welcome distraction and gave us something positive to focus on together. We finally settled on a charming house in a quiet suburb about an hour away from our current place. It was perfect, a fresh start in a new environment. The move itself was exhausting, but it brought us closer as we worked side by side, unpacking boxes and arranging our new home. As we settled in, we found a new rhythm. Our daily routines changed, and with them, the dynamics of our relationship. We were no longer surrounded by constant reminders of the past, and that made a significant difference. One evening, as we sat on our porch watching the sunset, Emily reached out and took my hand. I'm glad we did this, she said softly. It feels like a new beginning. I squeezed her hand, feeling a genuine sense of hope. Me too, Em. It's been a long road, but I think we're finally on the right path. Our new life brought new challenges, but they felt manageable. We continued our counseling sessions, though less frequently, and kept working on our communication. It wasn't always easy, but we were committed to making it work. A few months after our move, Emily surprised me with a weekend getaway to a cozy bed and breakfast in the mountains. It was a welcome escape, and I was touched by her thoughtfulness. The weekend was perfect. We hiked, explored the local town, and spent our evenings by the fireplace, talking and laughing. It felt like we were rediscovering each other, and the bond between us grew stronger. On the last night of our trip, we had dinner at a quaint little restaurant. The ambiance was warm and intimate, with soft music playing in the background. Emily reached across the table, her eyes shining with emotion. "Derek, I want you to know how much I appreciate everything you have done. I know it hasn't been easy, and I am so grateful you gave us another chance." I felt a lump in my throat as I looked at her, seeing the sincerity in her eyes. "I love you, Emily, and I'm grateful too. We've come a long way, and I believe we are stronger for it." That night, back at the bed and breakfast, we made love with a tenderness and passion that had been missing for so long. It felt like a true connection, a reaffirmation of our commitment to each other. When we returned home, life continued to move forward. We both got busy with work, but we made sure to carve out time for each other. Our new home became a sanctuary, a place where we could build new memories together. One Saturday morning, as we were having breakfast, Emily looked at me with a mischievous smile. "I have a surprise for you." I raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Oh, what is it?" She handed me an envelope. "Open it." Inside was a brochure for a Couple S retreat. "I thought it might be a good idea for us to spend some focused time on us," she explained. "I've heard great things about this place. It is a week-long retreat with workshops and activities designed to strengthen relationships." I was touched by her thoughtfulness. "That sounds amazing, Em. I'd love to go." The retreat was scheduled for the following month, and as the date approached, I found myself looking forward to it more and more. It felt like another step in the right direction, another opportunity to strengthen our bond. When we arrived at the retreat, we were greeted by the warm and welcoming staff. The setting was beautiful, a serene location surrounded by nature, perfect for reflection and connection. The week was transformative. We participated in workshops that helped us understand each other better, engaged in activities that built trust, and had plenty of time for just the two of us. It was a deeply emotional and healing experience. On the last night of the retreat, there was a closing ceremony. As we sat in the circle, surrounded by other couples who had also shared this journey, I felt a profound sense of gratitude. Emily looked at me, her eyes filled with tears. "I love you, Derek, more than words can say. Thank you for believing in us." I pulled her into a tight embrace, my own emotions overwhelming me. "I love you too, Emily, and I'm so glad we are here, together." When we returned home, we felt closer than ever. The retreat had given us new tools and perspectives, and we were determined to continue building on what we had learned. Life wasn't perfect, and there were still challenges, but we faced them together with a renewed sense of commitment and love. We had come a long way from that dark day at the cafe, and while the journey was far from over, we were ready to face whatever came next together. Returning from the retreat, Emily and I were riding a wave of renewed commitment and hope. Our new home felt even more like a fresh start, and the lessons from the retreat gave us tools to navigate our relationship more effectively. As the months passed, we settled into a comfortable routine. We were more open with each other, sharing our thoughts and feelings without fear. It was like we had finally found a balance, a way to move forward while acknowledging the past. One evening, as we were enjoying dinner on our porch, Emily looked at me with a serious expression. "Derek, there's something I need to tell you." My heart skipped a beat, but I forced myself to stay calm. "What is it?" She took a deep breath. "I've been thinking a lot about our future, and I realized there's something I want more than anything." I waited, unsure of what she was about to say. "I want us to start a family," she said softly. "I know we've been through so much, but I believe we're in a good place now. I want to take this next step with you." Her words hit me hard. The idea of starting a family had always been in the back of my mind, but with everything that had happened, I hadn't dared to dream about it. Seeing the hope and sincerity in her eyes, I realized how much I wanted it too. "I want that too, Em," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "More than anything." Her face lit up with a smile, and we spent the rest of the evening talking about our hopes and dreams for the future. It felt like another step toward healing, another way to build a stronger foundation for our relationship. We decided to take things slowly, focusing on maintaining the progress we had made while preparing for this new chapter in our lives. We continued our counseling sessions, making sure we stayed connected and communicated openly. As we moved forward, life brought new challenges, but we faced them together. Emily's mom continued to recover, and we spent more time with her and Emily's dad, strengthening our family bonds. Work was demanding for both of us, but we made sure to carve out quality time for each other. One Saturday, we were at a local park, enjoying a sunny afternoon. As we walked hand in hand, watching children play, Emily squeezed my hand. "I can wait to see you as a father," she said, her voice filled with warmth. I smiled, feeling a surge of love for her. "And I can wait to see you as a mother. We're going to be amazing parents." As the weeks turned into months, our anticipation grew. We took parenting classes, read books, and talked endlessly about our hopes and fears. It was an exciting and sometimes overwhelming time, but we faced it with a sense of unity and determination. One evening, Emily came home with a look of excitement on her face. "Derek, I have some news." I turned to her, my heart racing. "What is it?" She handed me a small, wrapped package. "Open it." Inside was a tiny pair of baby shoes and a positive pregnancy test. I looked up at her, my eyes filling with tears. "Are you serious?" She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "We're going to have a baby, Derek." I pulled her into a tight embrace, overwhelmed with joy. "This is amazing, Em. I love you so much." The months that followed were a whirlwind of preparations and emotions. We decorated the nursery, attended Dr. S appointments, and shared the news with our friends and family. It felt like a dream come true, a testament to the strength of our love and commitment. As Emily's due date approached, we grew more excited and nervous. We knew that becoming parents would bring new challenges, but we were ready to face them together. One evening, as we were sitting in the nursery, Emily turned to me with a thoughtful expression. "Derek, I know our journey hasn't been easy, but I am so grateful for everything we've been through. It's made us stronger, and I wouldn't trade it for anything." I took her hand, feeling a deep sense of contentment. "Me too, Em. We've come a long way, and I'm so proud of us. I can wait to see what the future holds." When our baby finally arrived, it was the most beautiful moment of our lives. Holding our child in our arms, we felt an overwhelming sense of love and purpose. It was the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with hope and possibility. Life as new parents was challenging, but it was also incredibly rewarding. We supported each other through the sleepless nights and the endless feedings, finding joy in the little moments and celebrating each milestone. As we watched our child grow, we were reminded of how far we had come. Our journey had been filled with pain and betrayal, but it had also been marked by healing, forgiveness, and love. We had rebuilt our relationship from the ground up, and it was stronger than ever. One evening, as we sat together on the porch, watching our child play in the yard, Emily turned to me with a smile. "We did it, Derek. We made it through." I nodded, feeling a deep sense of pride and gratitude. "We did, Em, and I am so glad we did. Here's to our future and all the adventures to come." Our life as new parents was a whirlwind of sleepless nights, early mornings, and endless diaper changes. But amidst the chaos, there was an incredible joy and a renewed sense of purpose. Emily and I were more connected than ever, sharing the responsibilities and cherishing the precious moments with our baby. One Saturday afternoon, we decided to visit a nearby park. It was a beautiful day, and we wanted to spend some time outdoors as a family. As we walked along the path, pushing our baby in the stroller, I couldn't help but feel a profound sense of happiness. While we were sitting on a bench, watching our child play on a blanket spread out on the grass, Emily turned to me with a thoughtful expression. I've been thinking a lot about everything we've been through, she said softly, about how much we've grown and changed. I nodded, understanding the weight of her words. It's been a long journey, but I think it's made us stronger. She smiled, her eyes filled with love. I agree. And I think it is important that we continue to nurture our relationship, not just as parents, but as partners. I couldn't agree more, I said, taking her hand. What do you have in mind? I was thinking we could plan regular date nights, she suggested. Just the two of us, to keep our connection strong and remind ourselves of why we fell in love in the first place. I smiled, feeling a warmth spread through my chest. That sounds perfect, Em. Let S do it. We started planning our first date night, arranging for Emily's parents to babysit. It felt strange leaving our baby for the first time, but we knew it was important for our relationship. We chose a cozy little restaurant in town, one we hadn't been to since before the affair. As we sat across from each other, candlelight flickering between us, it felt like we were rediscovering each other all over again. We talked about our hopes and dreams, about the challenges of parenthood, and about our love for each other. It was a magical evening, and it reminded us of the deep bond we shared. Over the next few months, we made a point to have regular date nights. Sometimes it was a fancy dinner, other times it was a simple walk in the park or a movie night at home. Each time, it strengthened our connection and brought us closer together. One evening, after putting our baby to bed, we sat on the porch, sipping wine and enjoying the quiet night. Emily looked at me, her eyes filled with emotion. Derek, I want to thank you for everything, for giving us another chance, for your patience and love. I know it hasn't been easy, but I am so grateful for you. I took her hand, feeling a lump in my throat. I love you, Emily, and I'm grateful for you too. We've been through so much, but it has made us who we are, stronger, more resilient, and more in love than ever. As the months turned into years, our family grew. We welcomed another child, and our home was filled with laughter and love. We faced challenges and setbacks, but we always faced them together, supporting each other and never losing sight of what was important. Our journey hadn't been easy, but it had been worth it. We had rebuilt our relationship from the ground up, and it was stronger than ever. We had learned to communicate openly, to forgive, and to love unconditionally. And through it all, we had created a beautiful life together. One evening, as we sat on the porch watching our children play in the yard, Emily turned to me with a smile. I can't believe how far we've come, she said softly. From that dark day at the cafe to this beautiful life we've built. I nodded, feeling a deep sense of pride and gratitude. We've been through a lot, but we've come out the other side stronger and more in love. I am so grateful for you, Em, for us. She leaned her head on my shoulder, and we watched our children, feeling a profound sense of contentment. Here's to our future, she said, raising her glass, and to the love that brought us here. We clinked our glasses, toasting to the journey we had traveled and the beautiful life we had created. It hadn't been easy, but it had been worth every struggle, every tear, and every moment of doubt. Because in the end, love had prevailed. Years passed, and our life continued to evolve. Our children grew, and so did the love and bond within our family. Emily and I had faced our darkest days and come out stronger, our relationship a testament to resilience and forgiveness. One summer, we decided to take a family trip back to the cabin. It had been years since our last visit, and it felt like the perfect way to create new memories in a place that had been so pivotal in our journey. Our kids were excited, eager to explore the woods and the lake we had talked about so much. As we drove up the familiar road, I felt a wave of nostalgia. The cabin looked just as it did the last time we visited, cozy and welcoming, nestled among the trees with the lake shimmering in the distance. We spent our days hiking, fishing, and playing by the water, relishing the time together away from the hustle and bustle of everyday life. One evening, as the sun set and painted the sky in hues of orange and pink, Emily and I sat on the porch, watching our children play. The scene was almost surreal, a picture-perfect moment that encapsulated how far we had come. Remember the last time we were here? Emily asked, her voice soft and filled with emotion. I nodded, taking her hand. I do. It feels like a lifetime ago. We've been through so much, she said, looking at me with tears in her eyes. But I wouldn't change a thing. Every struggle, every challenge brought us here, to this moment. I squeezed her hand, feeling a surge of love and gratitude. I feel the same way, Em. Our journey made us who we are, and I'm so proud of us. As we sat there, reminiscing about our past and dreaming about our future, I felt a profound sense of peace. We had faced our demons, weathered the storms, and come out stronger. Our love had been tested, but it had prevailed. That night, as we tucked our children into bed, Emily and I exchanged a look that spoke volumes. We had created a beautiful life together, filled with love, laughter, and resilience. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours, and that made it perfect in its own way. Over the years, we continued to face challenges, but we faced them together, with the same determination and commitment that had brought us through the darkest days. Our children grew up knowing the value of love, forgiveness, and resilience, and they thrived in the environment we had worked so hard to create. As we celebrated our 20th wedding anniversary, surrounded by family and friends, I looked at Emily, feeling a surge of emotion. "We made it," I said, my voice choked with tears. She smiled, her eyes sparkling with love. "We did. And I wouldn't change a thing." In that moment, I realized that our journey was a testament to the power of love and forgiveness. We had faced our darkest fears, embraced our deepest vulnerabilities, and come out stronger on the other side. Our love had been tested, but it had not only survived, it had flourished. As we danced under the stars that night, surrounded by those we loved, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. For Emily, for our family, for the life we had built together. It had been a long and challenging journey, but it was one I would choose again and again, because in the end, it was our love that had brought us here. A love that had been forged in the fires of adversity and emerged stronger than ever. A love that would continue to guide us through whatever the future held. And as I held Emily close, I knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, we would face them together, just as we always had. Because our love was unbreakable, and it would carry us through anything life threw our way. This is our story, one of love, resilience, and the power of never giving up on each other. And as we move forward, hand in hand, I know that our best days are still ahead, because together, we can overcome anything. Thank you for reading our journey.